Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest news episode of the Free Marketeers. Hope you're all doing well, that you've had a good week. This week ending 25 June 2021. A few news items that I wanted to share with all of you. For this week, we start with Minister Tito Mboweni, Minister of Finance. He's the architect of many of South Africa's labor laws, and he said it might be time to review them to ensure they aren't impeding economic growth. Hallelujah. He told an investment conference on Thursday that when he served as the first post-apartheid labor minister from 1994 to 1998, quote, we made a number of mistakes that need to be attended to, end quote. I think that's selling things quite light. He also said, to what extent are some of the labor policies we put in place acting as binding constraints? And he added, how do we make sure that our labor laws don't impinge on the ability of small and medium enterprises to function efficiently? Now, within the context of very low economic growth, maybe 2 to 3% before COVID-19, and looking forward, it doesn't look like we'll get very high economic growth. I think these questions come at the right time. I'm glad he's asking them. Whether that actually pushes South Africa to change some of its very restrictive labor legislation, we will have to wait and see. And of course, in light of the country's current unemployment rate on the expanded definition, which is 43.2%, you hope that these reforms will come very, very soon. On expropriation without compensation and land reform, in a move to strike a deal with the EFF to amend the property clause of the Constitution, the ANC last week Friday proposed that state custodianship should be applicable to quote-unquote certain land within the context of expropriation. But the EFF immediately rejected the proposal, saying that nothing short of full state custodianship which would amount to nationalization, would be acceptable. The party also remains at odds with the ANC over the inclusion of compensation in the clause. This means the change to the constitution could stall as the two parties continue to differ as the deadline to table a report to the National Assembly by the end of August looms. Both parties need one another to pass the amendment, which requires a 2/3 majority. Some more on expropriation without compensation. Former President Thabo Mbeki has warned that one of the ANC's proposed amendments to Section 25 of the Constitution would lead to a, quote, very serious disincentive to investment, which our country cannot afford, end quote, and that the party should not proceed with it. In a 15-page document handed to the ANC, Mbeki set out why he thinks the constitutional amendment the party is drawing up over land expropriation is a disaster. This also included that plans to expropriate land without compensation will drive away investment and reinforce tribalism, and the policy proposal is a shift away from the Freedom Charter. So quite something, I think, coming from a voice such as Thabo Mbeki to hear that on expropriation without compensation. Our next item is on South African Airways, and this is from an article by Carol Payton in the Business Day that I recommend you all go and read. Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan pulled off what can be described either as a cynical manipulation of Treasury or the work of a master political operator, admirably single-minded in getting what he wants. The Treasury was sidelined at every decision in the process, with circumstances created such that money was so suddenly and urgently needed that the decision was a fait accompli. It came as no surprise that Gordhan cut the Treasury out of the negotiation to secure a new strategic equity partner for SAA. The sale of part of a state-owned entity requires Finance Minister approval under the Public Finance Management Act. The Treasury must, by law, be intimately involved in a due diligence study of the offer. Gordhan knows this well, as his predecessor, Lynn Brown, tried precisely the same thing with state-owned arms manufacturer Denel. Instead, Treasury learnt about the Harith deal at the same time as any other cabinet minister, a few days before the cabinet meeting when the cabinet memorandum was sent out. While much of this is water under the bridge, it is still a story worth telling. While the political maneuvering was something to marvel at, the sidelining of Treasury remains deeply disturbing. In developments that come straight out of Atlas Shrugged, the novel by Ayn Rand, the moving of the Clover factory from the northwest to Durban has sent some more waves around the country, specifically for trade and labor unions. The General Industries Workers Union of South Africa wants the government to step in and stop Clover's exit and has called for the dairy company to be nationalized. Poor service delivery led to Clover announcing earlier this month that it had decided to close the country's biggest cheese factory and move it from Northwest to Durban. Uh, the Workers' Union, which is an affiliate of the South African Federation of Trade Unions, has called the Northwest government's attempt to stop Clover's closure, quote, irredeemably late, end quote, adding that there is little hope that this intervention will be successful. A further quote, this is because Clover's bosses are loyal only to their profits. Nothing motivates them other than profit making, end quote, as opposed to any other business, I suppose. The union also said it was prepared to pursue all means to bring Clover's relocation, quote, to a screeching halt, end quote. So maybe they feel that losing all those jobs in one part of the country is not enough. They want to pursue this line maybe with other businesses that closed down because of government policies that have made the South African environment very anti-business and anti-growth, anti-job creation, indeed. So it's expected to see this sort of talk from unions. Our final item for this week on South Africa's ports. The World Bank and IHS Markit recently released their Global Container Port Performance Index. South African ports performed exceedingly poorly. Out of 351 facilities, the index ranked Cape Town at 374th, Port Elizabeth at 348th, Durban at 349th. Now, in the past week, President Ramaphosa announced that after a 15-year delay, the Ports Authority will now be an independent subsidiary of Transnet. I think the thinking here is similar to what the proposed unbundling at Eskom would require. Now, the devil is in the details with the story. Will competition in port provision and service delivery and rail infrastructure be allowed? Will the private sector expertise be brought into the picture? Or is this simply a case of making the Ports Authority independent, but it will actually still be forced to follow all the decision-making of vested interests in the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, in Cabinet, and in Transnet as a whole? So time will tell. In a way, a good step in the right direction, but again, the devil is in the details, and we have to see what happens further with South Africa's ports. That's the end of our episode for today. I hope you found it useful. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We just hit the 15,000 subscriber mark, and we have to thank all of you very much for that, but let's keep that momentum going, and please subscribe if you haven't yet. A reminder that on the 1st of July, I will be doing a live podcast with Yaron Brook of the Ayn Rand Institute on capitalism, why it is important, and why South Africa needs it in a post-COVID world if we are ever to see a proper economic recovery. So please set up a reminder for yourselves for that on the 1st of July at 7 p.m. South Africa time. Until then, have a good weekend. Take care out there. We'll talk to you all again soon. Bye-bye.